My therapist didn't use the word hide. She said, don't dump your guilt on him to make yourself feel better. I took those 12 words, folded them into a hall pass, and wore it around my neck like it would get me through every locked door. 2 months later, my boyfriend was sleeping on his best friend's couch with our dog curled into the crook of his knees, and I was standing in a driveway holding a pie like a prop, the kind neighbors bring when someone dies. Theo opened the door and blinked.
He's not ready, he said.
He cried for 2 hours. The dog barked. I didn't step inside. I could see Marcus's shoes by the mat. Mud dried into maps from the last trail run. He went on without me. I said, because words feel useful even when they aren't. My therapist told me not to tell him. Theo tilted his head. And that changed the cheating how. The day I cheated had the clean logic of bad decisions. An off-site, a bar 2 blocks from the hotel, a coworker who made me feel like the first draft of myself was good enough. We were in Austin for the quarterly sales summit, which is corporate for perform enthusiasm, in the same room. I had 3 margaritas, half a taco, and a long history of needing to be someone's favorite to believe I exist. Nate was new to the team, clever in a way that makes you want to judge less strictly. He asked me if I ever felt like I was always on. Body, smile, mind. I said yes a little too quickly. He walked me back to the hotel because the sidewalks were humid and the conference badge on my lanyard felt like a name tag at a high school reunion. We kissed in the elevator before it became a decision. In his room, I kept thinking about how quiet a carpet can make a mistake. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't even long. It was a door I walked through because it was open and I forgot open isn't permission. I woke at 3 a.m. with my face stuck to a pillow and the kind of panic that tastes like pennies. I showered until my skin said stop. I went to the first session early and asked a woman from the Dallas office about her shoes because small talk is a better alibi than silence. If you want the timeline tidy, I slept with a coworker on a Thursday. On Friday, I changed my flight to get home early. I stood in the doorway of our apartment with a bag of barbecue I didn't want and an apology I couldn't name. Marcus took the bag, kissed my forehead, and said, "You smell like a swimming pool," which is how chlorine and guilt read to people who love you. He asked about the summit. I said the panels were fine and the coffee was bad. I didn't say I had also learned that I could ruin my life in less time than it takes to stand in line for a lanyard.
We watched a movie I didn't see.
I slept badly next to a man I wanted to deserve. On Monday, I found a therapist. I told myself I was being responsible, that confession under supervision is different than making Marcus hold my mess.
Dr.
Lang is the kind of woman whose quiet makes you realize how loud your head is. Her office is on the 2nd floor of a building with a Pilates studio downstairs, so the stairwell smells like eucalyptus and effort. In the intake form, there's a line that says, presenting problem. I wrote, I cheated on my partner, and I don't know how to stop throwing up. I half expected them to call the police. They called me Mara and offered Wednesday at 3 p.m. In the first session, Dr. Lang didn't make a face. She asked for facts like a detective who wants to get the story right. When I was done sprinting through the chronology, she said, "Tell me what you want." I said, "To rewind." She smiled the sad way people do when you ask for time travel. "And if you can't," she asked. "To keep my relationship and stop feeling like my skin is too tight," I said. She nodded. "Are you in danger?" "No, is he?" "No. Do you want to stay with your partner?" "Yes." "Are you still in contact with a coworker?" "Only Slack," I said, and then realized how ridiculous that sounded. She said, "We're going to talk about boundaries and about whether disclosure serves healing or merely relocates pain. And I want to be very clear. I can't make this decision for you.
You have autonomy. He has autonomy.
Honesty is a value. Timing and motive matter." I clung to the parts that treated me gently. She talked about how sometimes people confess to offload guilt and shift the burden onto the person they hurt. If you tell him, do it because you are ready to face the consequences, not because you want him to hold you while you cry, she said. That is not care. That is a transfer. She also said, secrecy is not neutral. It requires energy to maintain, and it distorts intimacy. If you choose not to disclose, you will need to accept what that does to the relationship. I heard the first bit like permission, and the second like background music. My brain is very good at curated hearing. I cut Nate off like a tourniquet. I blocked his personal number, muted him on Slack, and asked my manager to move me off his accounts because we're too chatty and it wastes time, which was the most honest lie I've told in an office. I became a parody of a good girlfriend. I packed Marcus lunches with notes that said things like, "You got this," as if we were in a sitcom about adolescent love. I started waking up early to make coffee the way he likes it. French press, for minutes, a splash of oat milk that makes it look like the sky right before it gives up on the day. I told him I wanted to cook more because I was tired of takeout, and I learned to make his mother's arroz con gandals from a recipe she sent in a text full of abbreviations and affection. Marcus kept looking at me like I was speaking his language with a new accent. "You okay?" he asked one night when I was rearranging the spice store like it might be a moral act. "Yeah," I said. "Just trying." That's the problem with being better after you've done something terrible. The person you did it to notices the better, but not the why. And the why echoes. It's a bell only you can hear, and it rings every time he laughs, and you think about the moment his laugh might stop.
Dr.
Lang said, "You can choose not to disclose while you stabilize and learn why this happened. That is a valid phase. It is not a permanent solution." I wrote "phase is not forever" in my notebook and underlined it twice like I was in school for penance. Marcus's best friend Theo calls himself the custodian of our relationship because he introduced us at a trivia night. He's the kind of friend who will drive you to the airport at 5 a.m. and remind you to eat vegetables with the same tone. He also has a house that always looks like you could film a rental listing in it. The Saturday after the summit, Marcus went over there to help hang shelves. He came home late, quiet like he is when the world feels too fluorescent. "Everything okay?" I asked. He rubbed the back of his neck, a tell I love because it means he's thinking hard. "Theo said you were weird at the holiday party," he said. I laughed too loud. "Weird how?" "Like you kept disappearing and coming back with new lip gloss," he said, smiling because it's our private joke that I own more products than Sephora. "He told me he saw you talking with a new guy a bunch." "Nate." My throat clenched. "He seems like a flirt," Marcus added, uncertain. "You know I don't like guys like that around you." I said the line every coward says to a careful man. "You're being insecure." He didn't get angry. He said, "Maybe. Or maybe I'm picking up something." Then he kissed my head and put a hand on my back as he walked past me, and I felt like the kind of person who uses a touch as a shield. I went to the bathroom and stared at my face under merciless light. I whispered, "Phase is not forever," like it was a spell that could keep my mouth shut and our life intact. 2 weeks later, Marcus found the receipt. Not a credit card record. Those I checked, and the Apple Card lists merchants like Austin Hospitality LLC, which could be anything from a toaster to a hotel. It was a crumpled paper from the conference bar with a hand-drawn heart where the server writes their name. The date was a Thursday. The time was 12:37 a.m. 2 spicy margaritas, 1 queso, a note. "Y'all are cute." I had stuffed it into a zip pocket of my tote with a summit agenda and forgotten it like evidence in a TV show where you shout at the protagonist to burn the bag. Marcus was looking for a pack of gum because he likes to chew when he codes. He saw the receipt, held it up, turned it over as if the back might have a more charitable story. He put it on the counter and didn't say anything until I came in from the bedroom. He tapped the paper once, a metronome for dread. "You want to tell me about this?" he asked. I had 1,000 options. Truth, partial truth, a lie that honored how smart he is. I picked the lie stupid people pick when they are terrified. Minimize and redirect. "Oh my God, that's from the group," I said. We all went out. That server was writing hearts on everyone's lips. It was like a bit. "Who?" he asked. "The Dallas office," I said, picking a city far enough from Nate to feel safe. "You know I hate the bar at that hotel," he said. "The drinks taste like candles, right?" I said, too relieved, like he had chosen my reality. He nodded slowly and went back to his laptop. Later, in bed, he curled around me like he always does. I lay there telling myself I could practice being the woman he thought he held until I actually was her. That was the night I dreamed of doors. Hotel room doors that would not latch, elevator doors that opened onto different floors than the buttons promised, our apartment doors swinging in the wind like a tongue. I told Dr. Lang, and she asked me to write down what I believe about myself when no one is watching. I wrote, "I am a good partner, except for the worst thing," and then I crossed it out and wrote, "I am a person who will do anything to avoid being the bad guy, even when I'm the bad guy." She didn't look pleased or proud. She said, "That's honest." What do you want to do with that? I decided to wait until our anniversary dinner to confess. It sounds deranged to pick a special occasion for confession, but my brain wanted the container of a specific date, a clean place to put an ugly truth. I planned it like a heist. I would make a reservation at the Italian place he likes where the servers call you Bello, regardless of gender, and no one can eavesdrop because the espresso machine is too loud. I would tell him after the first course but before dessert, so we wouldn't be tethered to a check in our hands and could walk instead of sit in our devastation. I would show him my list. I cut contact, I started therapy, I will give you anything you need to feel safe, including the password to everything and my resignation letter if you ask. I would not ask him to forgive me. I would ask him what he needed to decide whether he wanted to try. It felt like strategy. It was theater. I moved our anniversary dinner 48 hours earlier because of a work conflict he had flagged weeks ago and I had ignored. He noticed. You sure? He asked. You hate Wednesdays. Wednesdays can get over themselves, I said, which is completely untrue. Wednesdays are when my body remembers it as bones. I didn't get the chance. The universe was apparently bored of watching me rehearse my speech. The message arrived on a Tuesday afternoon at 2:09 p.m., a screenshot from a number I didn't know. It was a text thread between Nate and his roommate, the one I had seen at the holiday party with a mustache and a sweater vest like irony. The roommate had written, "You brought someone back last night, my dude?" She left an earring, with an attached photo of a simple gold hoop. Nate replied, From marketing. The one who laughs like she's being watched. My stomach flipped like bad sushi. The unknown number wrote, "This your girl?" and then sent a photo of me and Marcus from my Instagram. The one at the orchard last fall, his hand on my waist, caption, "Stole the last good apples." Under it, "Does he know?" I didn't respond. A minute later, the unknown number sent, "He should." Then the dots appeared. The typing symptom of the age. Then disappeared. The next message came 30 minutes later from Marcus. "Can you come home?"
No emoji.
No heart. Just a sentence that sounded like a lifeline and a trap at the same time. Marcus was on the couch when I walked in, elbows on his knees in the posture grief makes men assume even when no one has taught them how to cry in a room. Our dog, Moose, lay at his feet with his chin on his paws like he was auditioning for empathy. On the coffee table sat two things, my gold hoop and my phone, buzzing with calls from a number I now knew belonged to Nate's roommate. Marcus didn't look at me right away. He was breathing like he'd gone up a flight of stairs too fast. "Is there anything you need to tell me?" he asked. I said the only true thing I had left. Yes. The next true thing was harder. I slept with someone at the summit. He nodded once.
Once.
If he'd shaken his head, there would have been argument in it. Nodding made it a receipt. "Who?" he asked. "Nate," I said. "When?" "That Thursday," I said. "Did you see him after?" "No." "Are you still talking to him?" "No." "Did you get tested?" "Yes." "Before or after you slept with me when you got back?" The question knifed me cleanly. "After," I said. "I'm sorry." "You said you didn't like that hotel bar," he murmured to no one. "You said the drinks tasted like candles." He stood up. He is not a tall man, but he is tall enough to make me feel small when I deserve it. "Did you plan to tell me?" he asked. This was my moment to be precise. "Yes," I said. "When?" "Our anniversary dinner," I said. He laughed, a sound with no humor in it at all. "You're going to confess at an Italian restaurant," he said. "Between the calamari and the panna cotta." Tears came hard and ugly.
Dr.
Lang said not to dumb my guilt. I offered, like an umbrella under a waterfall. He blinked. "Your therapist told you to hide it?" "She didn't say hide," I said. "She said not to tell you if the real reason was to make me feel better. She said I needed to be ready for the consequences." He walked to the bedroom without answering. He took a duffel from the closet and put it on the bed. He filled it with basics, jeans, 2 t-shirts, underwear, the hoodie with the frayed cuffs he pretends to hate. He picked up Moose's leash. "He's coming with me tonight," he said. "You can visit him this weekend." I reached for him, and he stepped back like I was a ledge. "Please," I said. "Please, I was going to tell me at dinner," he finished for me. "You want points for picking a nice restaurant to end the kind of life we had?" I followed him to the door. "Talking to her doesn't absolve you," he said. "You outsourced ethics, and now you want me to grade the homework." I said his name like it could turn into an apology if I added enough vowels. He opened the door. "I'm going to Theo's," he said. "Do not come. If you drop by, he won't let you in. If you text me a paragraph, I won't read it." He looked down at Moose. "Come on, buddy." The dog trotted out in that clueless, happy way dogs move even when the room is bleeding. Marcus paused and looked back. "Block the coworker," he said. "Tell your boss you want off his accounts. Tell your therapist exactly what you did with her advice." Then he left, and I sat on the rug, because chairs felt like liars. Theo answered on the third ring when I called. "Don't," he said before I spoke. "He's here." In the background, I heard Moose's tags and a kettle. Theo is the kind of friend who always offers tea, as if words come out gentler in steam. "I just won't explain," I said. "Don't dump your guilt," he said, using the phrase in a tone that turned it back into a mirror. "That's not what that means," I said, and heard myself grasping for the version where nuance saves you. "He's not ready," Theo said. "He's crying." The image of Marcus crying. Marcus, who does the thing with his jaw when he refuses tears, broke something small and private inside me. I hung up. I left my phone on the couch. I went into the bathroom and stared at the earring and the face that used to wear it. The next day, I asked Dr. Lang for an emergency session. Therapy rules don't have emergency in them unless there's harm, which there wasn't, but she found me 30 minutes at lunch because she is steadier than I deserve. I sat on her couch and said, "I told him you told me not to tell him." She closed her eyes briefly, like she was aligning an internal picture frame. "What did I say?" she asked. I repeated her words as best I could. "Don't dump your guilt to make yourself feel better. Consider your motives. Be prepared for consequences." "Did I tell you not to disclose?" "No." "Did I tell you to conceal?" "No." "What did you choose?" "To wait," I said.
To plan.
"To pick a restaurant." She nodded. Sometimes when we're afraid, we turn guidance into permission and permission into policies. Therapy is not a shield. It's a mirror and a map. I said. He left. "That's one of the consequences," she said softly. "Did you expect him to thank you for your timing?" "I expected him to understand that I was trying to do it right," I said. "He's not a rubric," she said. "He's a person." "I feel like the villain," I said. "You're not a character," she replied. "You're a person who caused harm and is now facing a response you don't get to choreograph." I hated her for being correct. "Is there anything I can do?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "You can write a letter that doesn't offend or beg. You can give him space even if it empties the room. You can cut contact with Nate without making a speech about it at work. You can decide whether your values include transparency and then practice them when the stakes are low, so this is the last time the stakes have to teach you. For realism you might care about, therapists can't call your partner without your written consent. Confidentiality isn't an aesthetic. It's the law, with exceptions for risk of harm, abuse, or a court order. If you want your therapist to explain something to your partner, they'll require you to sign a release, and even then, most will offer a general statement to protect your privacy and the therapy's integrity.
Dr.
Lang wouldn't be my alibi, even if I begged. She did, however, offer to give me language I could use that wasn't self-exoneration. You can say, "I didn't tell you right away because I was scared and selfish. I chose my comfort over your right to know."
I'm sorry.
"I will respect whatever boundary you set," she said. I wrote it down. It felt like a handrail. I texted Theo to ask if I could drop off Moose's favorite toy and some of his food. Theo said yes if I left it by the door. "He's sleeping," he wrote. I drove over with a bag of kibble, the green dinosaur that Moose annihilates, and I sew back like we're in a one-sided war with seams, and the pie I'd made because baked goods are one of my inadequate love languages. I rang the bell and stepped back. Theo opened. He took the bag. He looked at me like a man who has watched his friend fall downstairs he warned him about. "He's trying to breathe," he said. "He thinks you made a pro/con list for telling him and put I might feel better under pro and he might leave under con and then picked the column that let you keep movie night." "That's not wrong," I said. "But it's not all of it. It's enough," Theo said. "Then soften. Get your own therapist to write you a list of the next right things and do them without announcing it. He doesn't need your process. He needs your absence until he asks for your presence." Nate texted from a new number that I later learned belonged to his mother. It said, "Can we talk?" I replied, "No." He sent, "I didn't know you were serious with anyone," which is I stopped myself from typing a biography of us into a text field. I wrote, "Do not contact me again. I've removed myself from your accounts. I will escalate to HR if necessary." He replied, "Wow. It is always wow with men who learn belatedly that women have consequences in their pantry." At work, I asked to transfer off any project that touched Nate's, citing compatibility issues. HR doesn't need your confession to do their job. They need a form and a reason that doesn't invite a lawsuit. My boss raised an eyebrow. I told her I needed a different set of clients for growth. She said okay because turnover is a fact and conflict is a cost center. I blocked the unknown number that had sent the screenshots. I locked my Instagram. I told my 3 closest friends I had blown up my home and would accept meals and silence in equal measure. 2 of them said the right thing. "I love you. That was wrong. What do you need?" And one of them auditioned to be the devil on my shoulder and did not get a call back. Marcus didn't text. He Venmo'd me for half the rent with a note that said, "Until end of month." He canceled the camping trip we had planned with Theo and the rest of the group, and the message thread lit up with questions he didn't answer and jokes I wanted to climb through the phone to stomp on. I wrote him a letter in a Google Doc, so I couldn't hit send by accident. I kept it short. I said the lines Dr. Lang gave me. I included a list of the steps I'd taken. Contact cut, work changes, a standing weekly slot with my therapist. I did not include the part where I had picked an Italian restaurant for the confession because adults don't ask to be graded on intention after the exam is over. I printed the letter and put it in an envelope with his name in my neatest handwriting. I left it with Theo because I am learning how not to force scenes I want to star in. A week later, Marcus asked to meet at Theo's because he didn't want to come home to a place that wasn't home anymore. I wore the sweater he likes because I am still a cliché even when I'm trying to be a person. He sat across from me at the dining table, Theo hovering in the kitchen pretending to wash the same cup forever. Marcus's face looked older, not in years but in use. He said, "I read your letter." "Okay," I said. "Thank you for not making it my job to comfort you," he said, which was both mercy and verdict. "You said you'll respect my boundary," he continued. "My boundary is that I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who chooses secrecy as a strategy." It was not a discussion. It was a description. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," I said because Dr. Lang had taught me at least that much. "Good," he said softly. "Because I won't." He looked at his hands and then at me. "I might forgive you someday in the way that means I don't spend any more of my mornings being angry, but I won't return to this." "I understand," I said, which is a lie in the present tense and a hope in the future. "I believe you're sorry," he added. "I also believe you're sorry for the consequences more than the act. And I can't be with someone who only does the right thing when the audience is clapping." Theo cleared his throat in the kitchen like a punctuation mark. Moose patted in, thumped his tail, leaned against Marcus's leg like loyalty has no patience for nuance. We didn't divide assets because we don't have the kind of life that requires lawyers. We have a couch, some plants, 2 bikes, and a collection of mugs friends gave us when we moved in together that say things like "bless this mess" with the kind of irony that feels accusatory in retrospect. Marcus said I could keep the apartment. He'd find a sublet. He said he'd pick up Moose on alternating weekends because he didn't think it was fair to make the dog a weaponized comfort. He said he'd change his emergency contact back to Theo. I wanted to joke that I'd keep him on mine only if I planned to injure myself dramatically. I didn't joke. Comedy is often theft of a feeling you haven't earned yet. When I got home, I emailed Dr. Lang to thank her for not letting me use her as a fig leaf. She replied with 3 sentences. "You can stop trying to be the sympathetic character and start trying to be the honest narrator." Grief will feel like a sentence. It's actually a comma. Keep doing the next right thing, even when it's boring. I printed it and taped it inside a cabinet door because I am a student even when the class is optional. For those who want the policy footnotes because realism is your love language, therapists do not tell you to keep secrets to protect your partner. They'll explore harm reduction and the motivations behind disclosure. They cannot disclose your information without your consent, except for safety exceptions. If your partner wanted a statement from your therapist, you'd have to sign a release of information, and even then, most clinicians will provide a treatment summary rather than a play-by-play. Subpoenas can force production, but privilege exists in most states and can be asserted. Judges decide. In other words, there is no professional who can rescue you from the ethics of your own home. You choose, and then you live with how someone else chooses in response. A month out, my life is a collection of small penances that aren't really penances at all. Just responsible adulthood. I removed Nate from LinkedIn. I asked HR to seat me on a different floor. I blocked the unknown number and reported it because harassment doesn't get to style itself as righteousness. I learned to run the route Marcus liked, and I do it slowly because speed isn't what I'm after, steadiness is. I cook less performatively. I started taking Moose to obedience classes on my weeks because he barks at skateboards like they insulted his mother, and because it feels good to teach a creature something that benefits him and not my self-image. I go to therapy and talk about why I wanted to be chosen so badly, I forgot I had already been. Sometimes I drive by Theo's at night. I don't stop. I picture Marcus inside on the couch that smells like leather and dog, the TV light strobing the walls, Moose snoring like a tired engine. I picture him not crying, because that's the image that helps me respect his boundary, not chase it. I picture him rebuilding the part of himself that believed he could be the soft place for someone who might drop a knife. He wins, if that's the word, by choosing not to live in a house where he has to wonder what percentage of the truth is in the air. He wins by not letting my process draft him into the role of nurse. He wins by crying in front of his friend instead of yelling at me. He wins by leaving the key on the hook and walking out without breaking anything except a story we both liked about ourselves. If there is a lesson beyond don't cheat, it's this: if you do cheat, don't recruit therapy to launder it. Use therapy to grow a spine sturdy enough to tell the truth on a Tuesday afternoon with no violins, and to accept that he might walk because walking is what people do when they were asked to sit in a chair labeled trust, and it turned out to be a trapdoor. The only dump that happens then is your own excuses in the trash. And if you are reading this as the girl I used to be, the one who thinks she can fix a betrayal by being aggressively excellent at breakfast, know this: he will notice the better.
He will not know why.
He will think maybe he did something to deserve it. He will place a hand on your back when he walks by because he is kind. Say the hard sentence then, when the door is still on its hinges: I hurt you, and I have to tell you how. Say it without scripts. Say it before a stranger with a mustache texts him a picture of your earring. I moved the earring to the top drawer of my dresser as a reminder, not a relic. I switched to studs. I go to therapy and try to listen to the parts that don't flatter me. I stop at the dog park on the weeks I have Moose and throw the green dinosaur until my arm is rubber. When he brings it back, he looks at me like I am the only thing that makes sense. I'm trying to be the person who doesn't ask for that look as a pardon. I'm trying to be the woman who can sit at an Italian restaurant on a Wednesday in a sweater that doesn't itch, order pasta, and talk about her day without using timing as ethics. I'm trying to learn that the story where you're the villain isn't the worst one, if you let it make you honest. This isn't a redemption arc. It's a map with better legends: boundary, consequence, consent, confession. It doesn't lead back to him. It points to the part of me that won't use another person's kindness as a place to stash my guilt. If that makes me less sympathetic, good. I've had enough sympathy. What I need is a habit of telling the truth before it becomes somebody else's emergency. That, unfortunately, mercifully,
Can't be delegated.
not to a therapist, not to a friend, not to a dog who will love you whether you deserve it or not. Only to yourself, while there's still time to choose a different door and close it behind you like you mean it.